It's Christchurch, it's Ōtautahi, that's our beautiful hometown down there. But it's quite a different city than it was a few years ago.
We were both there on that day, that fateful day that changed the lives of every Cantabrian, and 3 years on, it continues to change.
So over the next 6 weeks, we want to share with every New Zealander what's been going on in our city.
By the people who live there. And Jared, you were there on the day of the quakes, that fateful day, and picked up your camera within minutes and started filming.
Yes, I was, and I did, Rach, and since then I have been telling stories. I've been telling stories of inspiration, stories of innovation, and sometimes even stories of desperation. But that's Christchurch. It's Christchurch from the streets.
In the right part of Auckland, that would sell for $4.2 million right there.
Cutting! Cutting, Lyndon! Lyndon,
Yeah, right.
why are you still here in Christchurch?
Well, it's my home, you know. I was living in Auckland actually, but I was down here in Christchurch doing a gig when the whole thing went down, and I was like, once it all sorts itself out, I'll go back to Auckland, but I just couldn't do it, you know. And I don't miss the traffic. But where else would you get to help with rebuilding a city?
Yeah,
what about you?
I've been here for 5 years and I was more determined to stay than ever after it happened. I can't really explain it, but I guess everyone's got a tale to tell.
Ain't that the truth?
Shane is the baker. Richard the builder.
No nakedness, thanks. Yep.
I first met these two a couple of years ago when I was filming When a City Falls, and at the time they hadn't met each other, but now they have. It's a story of community spirit, a story not uncommon in post-earthquake Christchurch. Been popular?
No, everyone hates me.
2 years on and he's able to stay afloat through his bakery. Hey, how are you?
Good.
But it's his restaurant, Memphis Belle, that Shane is now dreaming of rebuilding.
Let's turn this back on you. I had a restaurant on Worcester Street called Memphis Belle for 17 years. In the first earthquake, I lost the first floor. It was a two-storey building. And then I started living in the bar. Yep. And this was my bed. It was okay. Then when the big earthquake came, that was in February, that's when the whole building collapsed. So it was rather sad.
Kia ora. You around, Shane?
Didn't have insurance, so it was pretty much start again.
You're sleeping in, mate?
Yeah.
Grab a few friends, see if I can borrow their kitchens and to get to the markets to generate an income. And that's pretty much what I've been doing for the last couple of years.
Shane still dreams of reopening the Memphis Belle, but it's a dream that could take years to realise. And that's where Richard comes in.
Shane had no insurance, like a lot of small businesses at that time. And being a builder, we've done all right out of the earthquakes. And so, you know, I think it's good to just share the love. Prior to the earthquakes, it was 3 of us. I had 1 vehicle. Now I've got 15 vehicles. I've got 25 staff. We've grown a wee bit, with heaps of room to grow more. Yeah, Shane, how you going?
How did you meet Richard?
I met Richard at the When a City Falls premiere there, so I didn't know him before then. I suppose about a month later he came knocking at the door here and made an offer of helping me get Memphis Belle back on the road. It's doing a lot of the building free of charge, the fit out and things like that. No, absolutely wonderful. I was dumbfounded when he said that.
Guys, hold it, let's get ready. Posing. I saw him on this big screen, and then I saw him off the screen, and he still had the optimism and the smile on his face and the willing and the drive to carry on, and I was so inspired by that. I thought, well, whenever my guys got nothing to do, they're coming down here. Yeah. We're doing a disabled toilet, so he can get compliance for that for a restaurant. We're also putting in little booths for people to sit in.
Did you get that name?
We're trying to get Shane up and running as a business so he can be self-sufficient. Back to where he was, if not better than where he was prior to the earthquakes.
On the build, on the mend. It's a little bit hilly.
Bella's on the road again.
Yeah, it's coming back. A little bit used, a little bit bruised. And it's like coming home. Been an old Sumner boy. Worceston's close enough. Nice and edgy around here. Not overdeveloped. It's got that industrial feel. Gritty is what I say. Yeah, really grateful. Even now, still choke a little bit when I think about it. Not used to sort of people helping, but that's the good which has come out of, you know, out of the earthquake. A lot of people just stepped up to the plate to help with what skills they have, you know. Hopefully I'm in a position when I'm up and going to help someone else.
We are out in the heart of the east in Darlington, where Lyndon grew up. A lot of his family are from here, and it's the worst hit area that I've seen. It's really sad, actually.
Yeah, this is Queensbury Street, Darlington. This is where I was born.
Heart of the East.
Yeah. I lived in my grandparents' place here. I actually lived just a couple of houses over with my great-grandma, first part of my life. And it's all gone. Granddad had a market garden in this part before it was developed, which I guess is the future of it now. It's going back to being a meadow and stuff once they bowl all of these houses, because it's too unstable to ever build on, apparently, which is almost too much to get your head around. Yeah.
So many homes destroyed. I mean, it's just going to be such a slow recovery out here.
Yeah, I guess at least we've rediscovered how to take care of each other.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're a state integrated Catholic primary school, years 1 to 8. And pre-September 2010, we had a very comfortable home in Gayhurst Road and a very strong community with a very strong parish.
An old and venerable school.
Absolutely. 75 years anniversary, the year of the earthquake. We sort of thought, if this has happened to us, everybody else is going to be so much worse. But it wasn't. We were the worst. It actually destroyed the land in Darlington. All the buildings sunk. It ripped the church in two. And pretty much that was the end of us at Darlington. We were the only one in September that lost the entire lot.
The only school in Canterbury?
Only school in Canterbury. That was totally destroyed.
So you had to move?
We did.
We're going to a new school.
In term 4, we opened up at Morehouse Avenue on a temporary site there next to the Catholic Basilica. And Damien, my DP, and I walked around and said, this is great, this is going to be a much better year. We've got everybody in a classroom, we've done a lot of work on the holidays on the grounds. 3 weeks later, it all turned to custard. The cathedral came down on one side and the bus company came down on the other, which was pretty terrifying for the children.
It was just like white dust rising, and I was like, oh, this ain't good. This ain't good at all.
After that, buildings were unsafe, so we were homeless again. A month later, we opened in Champion Street, this current site. It had been empty for 3 or 4 years, and it was in a state of disrepair, to say the least. So there was a lot of work to get it up and ready. We've coped really well, and I take my hat off to everybody, but make no mistake, it has been hard. There's no easy way. You know, to move an entire school once was tough. To move it again, it just puts continual pressure and stress on.
Yes.
60% of our families have moved out of their original home. A lot of the children, particularly the slightly older children, have had to grow up fast.
I don't think I will ever recover from this. Recently, our family has just moved house, and then moving schools is a big intake for a 12-year-old, so yeah.
I would say mentally they are a lot stronger. I think they are a lot more compassionate and caring towards each other. They look after one another, and I think that's become more noticeable. probably a sign that the community and their community has become more caring. Reliable, responsible, we will always be...
How have the kids done with their scholastic work?
We had the best year last year ever for our academic results.
You're kidding?
No, I'm not. Marion College put out 3 scholarships which were independently set and marked by the university. Our girls won all 3. That's not bad going. And considering we're only one of the contributing schools, so they're doing pretty well.
That doesn't make sense. In times of great trauma and calamity, you've done better than as if you've had no trauma and calamity.
I know.
Is there something about the calamity that focuses you?
Yes. Unfortunately, there is a proposal afoot that we will be merging with Our Lady of Fatima in Innis's Road. That does mean that many of us will be jobless, but that's the way it goes. We're all dispensable at the end of the day.
For those in the East, times are undoubtedly hard, not just for schools, staff, children and parents, but also for the unwanted and disenfranchised parts of society.
Delta is just a place for people who are disadvantaged in various ways to meet some friends, get low-cost meals, go to various courses if they want to, but just be part of a community that supports each other.
Good day, how you going? Thank you. I needed that rope, yeah.
Many of our clients are from the eastern suburbs. Since the earthquake, some have been coming that have never had a need to come to our services before.
Here's a dozen eggs. I'll put them in a bag for you. Yeah, Alan. Oh, thank you. No worries. Take care. Nice weekend.
One supermarket and one shop give us these leftovers each day, Monday to Friday.
Yes, same hand. Okay, change hands. Keep the circle going. And the other way.
This is the Evergreen Club. This is a day program for people over 65 from all around the area. A lot of people have been socially isolated, and this is their club. Often they're living alone, so they're very reliant on community groups coming around and helping them.
Yeah. So you've seen an increase since the earthquake?
Yes, yes. Today we have a community meal. It's been going for about 17 years. It's served at 12 o'clock for $3. Got great cooks and volunteers. You get a wonderful hot meal, you get seconds and a great pudding.
A bit more?
Yes, get the piece hanging over the edge.
Oh, g'day, how are you?
How have you been since the earthquake?
Not too good.
No?
Jesus, he keeps me going, plus all the good people helping.
Yeah.
Delta is special to me because people here help me and I can talk to anyone, and I've got friends here, and people are just nice and friendly.
Where else in the city would you get a 2-course meal with dessert and 2 mains for $3? You tell me.
Thanks, Brian.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, I was gonna...
Hello, everybody.
Certainly the major issue is housing as well as mental health. We've got people who are still living with family members or relatives or friends, and really they're homeless as well. When they've outstayed their welcome, they try and move on to someone else.
I lost my rental place in the February earthquake. I have 2 dogs and a cat and a bird, which, because of my mental health, mean a lot to me, and, you know.
Hard to shift with them?
Yeah.
Landlords don't want them?
They don't want them, no.
I really feel for Annabelle because her pets are her family too. Very difficult.
Yeah, my landlord doesn't want to do anything to the house, so you've got doors that don't close, and the liquefaction's still been left there, and it's really damp.
I'm not using heating because with the concrete floor and no warmth in it, I just feel like it's wasting all that power to try and heat up the concrete. So
it must be freezing.
It is freezing, yeah. It's the new normal.
Are we over the worst of it?
Hard to say. We've heard that the 3rd year after a major calamity is a difficult time, and it's definitely true here. I've been here 17 years and there hasn't been a year like this for mental health issues.
The way things are with the Christchurch and the earthquakes, I'm going to be standing for the Christchurch City Council Mayoralty.
I don't think it would be the right thing to do.
To vote for your friend?
All respect to him as a friend.
He's just a dinner mate with big ideas.
How have you been since the earthquakes?
My husband's been very good, and I'm good, and of course I'm extra good because I'm Kevin Barry's sister, you know, Kevin Barry.
This is my fiancée Leslie, and that is for my mum if she's watching us. Okay, bye. Want to say something?
So you realise you're going to have to wear a tie all the time?
Definitely will, yeah.
You'll probably get to eat your lunch first. Come here. All of us now, instead of looking ahead for a 2-year plan, we're just getting through this week. We used to do goal setting. Now we discover that people don't have the same energy levels, so we take them out for trips and we do gardening groups and things like that because people just can't do it at present.
I just want to say one thing. The people of Christchurch are very grateful. People all over New Zealand have done so much for us.
Have you spent any time in the square, Rach?
When I first arrived, all of my immigration stuff was in the immigration building, which is that sort of hollow shell you see now. So yeah, I used to come to the square all the time. My first bank that I signed up to is just in this corner, the BNZ behind the cone. But I never went into the cathedral, and I'm very sad about that now.
I used to climb right to the top. There were all these stairs that went right to the top of the steeple. I've been told as a kid that if you dropped a coin from the top of the steeple from the lookout thing, the coin could bear so much momentum that it could go right through somebody and kill them. You know, so you know that's why you did not do it. I was not thinking about that, but then I thought about it. You know, so I love this building. I'm going to really miss it. You know.
The Christchurch Cathedral has a long acquaintance with earthquakes. Our first European settlers knew of such events. In 1869, Jane Deans wrote in a diary that they come as they usually do, without warning, a loud report like a cannonball hitting the house, shaking violently all the time. After a succession of significant earthquakes throughout New Zealand in those years, the engineering wisdom of the time prescribed the building of public buildings in wood. The cathedral architect, George Gilbert Scott, planned a wooden skeleton enclosed within a stone outer shell, but this was changed by Bishop Harper after a good source of local stone was found. Within a month of the tower being consecrated in 1881, a stone dislodged from the cap. It was the first in a series of earthquakes to damage the long-suffering spire, and they finally gave in and pulled it down brick by brick, rebuilding it out of wood and copper. After this, and for a long period, Christchurch was seldom shaken. Nevertheless, the cathedral was periodically strengthened, enabling it to withstand the first earthquake in September.
Well, weren't we lucky? And wasn't there some extraordinarily good planning and thinking about the future? I mean, this place is the icon of the city in so many ways. We had earthquake strengthening in 1999, and that's what saved this building, really, absolutely. And then we did some work about 2-3 years ago here, refurbishment, which has saved the windows. Thank God and the Christchurch City Council, because if that work hadn't been done, I think we'd have been in real trouble.
If we look up, the most obvious visible signs of the strengthening are the cross bracing that we can see in the ceilings of the side aisles. And we have basically a big long truss going from one end of the side aisle to the other. If you look, the slightly newer looking stone up here is where we have reinforced concrete, which gets the load which comes all the way down the truss and brings it down to the foundation level.
It was wonderful to come round here on the morning of the earthquake and to think, wow, there's hardly anything, a bit of mortar lying around.
However, just 5.5 months later, Christchurch's most recognisable icon would not be so fortunate.
We have the privilege of being the steward of what has been, for many, many people, the principal icon, the symbol for so many of our city. And we want to continue to do that. We want to make the very best decisions we can make, because we'll be building here a new cathedral which will respect our past, our heritage, and build for the future. That's what we're about, and that's what we hope we'll continue to do as we explore what we're going to do here. But it will be, ultimately, it will be the Anglican Cathedral, built on Anglican land, paid for largely, I'm sure, with Anglican money, but we want it to be a place which people can say, this is our place.
We've written many volumes of reports, I think, commencing after the September earthquake, and we were really still getting a feel for what that damage was when obviously we had the February quake and the world changed. A lot of people, when they see a stone building, they get the idea that there are big chunks of stone, and what's key when you look at this is you realise that it's not big chunks of stone, it's lots of little pieces of stone, nicely coursed brick on the outside, and then what we call random rubble inside. Some of it, as you can see here, has been sort of cemented together, but in other places you find that material is quite loose.
In a book recently published by Yale University, the Christchurch Cathedral is stated as being among the most perfect examples of the reach and the ambition of the Anglican confession worldwide. Any rebuild of the cathedral would present a great challenge.
What you don't know is what the stonework looks like behind that, and so to restore some integrity to that, you've generally got to pull it apart. If you're going to rebuild it, each one of the elements of the building can be effectively, there are things you can do for it, but it's getting the whole integrated is the challenge with something like this.
All in all, not a pretty picture, eh, John?
Well, no, it's not. It's kind of tragic to see a building like this, which people have invested so much emotion and energy in over the years, in that state.
Your last report did say it's a momentous task to restore it, and this may be in conflict with what others are saying?
Yeah, look, absolutely it is. And I think even though there's been, informed engineers on both sides of the debate, if you like, I think that all the engineers are in agreement, whatever you do, it's a tremendous task.
Some people say that it could be mothballed for a while and slowly, with public subscription, put back together.
Yeah, sure. There's a great engineering platitude that you can do anything with enough money, and I think while that's quite true, it's never a question of can we do it. As I say, it's really a question of should we do it, and it's a real tough decision for the church to work through.
Opinions as to the future of the cathedral are dividing the city. Many say too much of our heritage is already being bulldozed, while the Anglican Church is firmly of the view that a new building shall better serve their purpose.
The destruction of Christchurch's city centre left gaping wounds. Part of the healing has come from the most unusual of places. Guys over there in high vis.
Oh, yes, yeah. Oh, they came over and said, now what the hell is it? Yeah. Cool. Now, the best we've come up with over there, he says, is that you're drying Jerry's undies.
Almost overnight, a groundswell of design and art began to fill these fallow spaces. But the most well-known void reclaimer, who even managed to get Charles and Camilla swinging, is undoubtedly gap filler.
Hello, I'm Coralie Wynn.
And I'm Ryan Reynolds, and we are two of the three founders of Gap Filler.
So this is where you operate from?
It is. Recently it's been feeling quite small because there's just been a lot happening. But I'm a people person and I'm passionate about what we do. I truly believe in what we're doing. It's exciting. And I
you
get
enjoy
to
talking?
Yes, exactly. So I understand.
Glad you said it.
Yeah.
It's kind of a deeply political thing. Most of the time, it's the people with money who get to determine the built space of a city, especially after a disaster. And we found out pretty quickly that there are a lot of people with great ideas and energy and enthusiasm, but not the money. And if you can find a way to enable those people, then you've done it.
We talked about doing something with pallets quite early on and just respond to a need in the city, and there is a need in the city for venues. Originally, this pallet pavilion was meant to be here for 5 months. We got to about March when we were thinking about taking it down in May. It was like, wow, that feels quite soon.
Why did you have to take it down?
Because it cost too much. We needed money for the power and for maintenance and for insurance. It's a community building. That cost a lot to care for. And what we decided to do was run a crowdfunding campaign on Pledge Me, which is where anyone can make a donation. And the way we did it was, or the way Pledge Me works, is if you hit the target, you get all of the money. If you don't hit the target, you get zero. And so for us, that's the decision there. That's how the decision is made.
Yeah. That was fairly ambitious.
Hell yes.
How did it go?
Oh, well, we're still here, aren't we? It was fantastic. It was extremely exciting. And it's the most perfect way it could have happened. When we got the cycle-powered cinema the first night and it was working and we had people riding bikes, generating power, sitting, and then others watching films, that was pretty special.
This one actually isn't a gap filler project. We actually conceived of what would be quite small series of structures that would form an arcade. The walkway from place to place, from Victoria Street to Victoria Square, but it's also a place where you can put up market tents on either side. And so just like an arcade, you know, you walk through, but it's also a destination in itself. But what I envisioned was certainly something much smaller than this.
The whole idea behind Lux City, which opened the Festival of Transitional Architecture last year, was to bring people back into the city.
People from University of Auckland School of Architecture got every architecture school in the country to get their students working for a semester on a project for Christchurch that would culminate in this Festival of Lights, where we have structures that were conceived, designed, built all around the country, and then brought in suitcases.
Yeah, they had to be under 23
a day before.
kg.
But it was actually a wonderful way to conceive a really inexpensive and grand festival because you were relying on the students' assessment pieces.
Amazing to see people back in the city.
Yeah.
I haven't seen this many people in the city since the 22nd of February.
I think we had an estimated crowd of 5,000.
Yeah.
And that we thought was to play it safe in case things got out of hand or, you know, whatever.
Oh,
by the end of it, I think most estimates were around 20,000.
Some people got fed up with that and moved the fence.
And went streaming down New Regent Street.
Went down New
long
Regent
before it
Street
opened.
and underneath the Theatre Royal, and I'm just thinking, holy crap, get out of there!
Temporary architecture lasts as long as people like it. And we've kind of found that with some of our own projects.
Yeah.
The fridge full of books that we thought might last a couple months has become kind of an integral part of that little neighborhood, and it's been there 2 years.
2 years next Wednesday.
Week. Yeah.
There is a learning process, there's a prototyping, there's an experimentation about what people want in their city. I'd like to think that it can build and have a real impact on the rebuilding process.
You know what, Rach?
What?
I've lived in this city most of my life. Sometimes I just can't figure out where we are.
Thanks, New Zealand On Air.